So the first thing we learned in this unit was there was a basic parabola shape. Okay, that was the most normal parabola that you could have, and then you could alter that with transformations. Okay, so this one, what did the 4 multiplier do to that shape? What happened to it? And remember those words? We could go up, down, left, right, narrow, wide, and flip. Those are your options. Narrows. And then there was a -1 as an outside number. So that made it go down. B, I'm looking for 2 answers. So there was a negative in the multiplier spot. So that's a flip. And then there was the 4, but it was in the bracket, not like last time. So you're going to move 4 to the what direction? To the left. So that one's an opposite. Okay, I'm going to let you finish. And then I'll write my answers in a second here. This one has 2, but don't forget D. There's 3 things I need you to answer there. So you go ahead on your own, and then we'll see if we can do them the same. Okay, question C, that should have widened it and moved it to the right. And the last question, I should see a flip, a narrow, and an up. Okay, so then we got into how to graph, and then I gave you this little pink paper.
Did we get this for the test?
You get the formulas, like you get that, but you don't get told. Do the opposite. I don't tell you that. You just get like that. But do you know how to tell if it's opposite? If the formula says minus. If the formula says plus, that's the same, right? So you just have to know that. Okay, so the vertex, which number are you going to look at for the first part? Should we look at the 4 or the 3? Which one comes first? The one with the x comes first. Should it be a 3 or a -3? -3, because on your test you're going to have this formula is the one it looks exactly like, and in this formula there's a minus and a minus. So I'm doing opposite, and then in that formula that would also be opposite. What's the slope multiplier? 2, which tells me it opens up. There's an axis of symmetry, which means if I sliced it right down the middle, how do you start that line no matter what? X equals, and the x it cuts through, -3. What's the domain of any parabola? Negative infinity to the positive infinity. So when I do range, I kind of draw my little tiny picture. so that I can understand. It's going to go from some number. Where are you finding that number? -4 height to infinity. And then the y-intercept. So you should go, well, hey, that's where x is 0. So then I write my equation, but I'm putting 0 in the spot of x. Okay, my steps were just a bunch of BEDMAS stuff. I exponent, well, brackets, exponents, multiplied, moved, add, subtract. Okay, graphing. We're going to go -3, -4. -3, -4 is the vertex. Over on the side, I'm going to make a little chart for myself. It's called the over-up. And how do we always start it? 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9, right? Because we're squaring, that's the square pattern. Do we do that or should we change it? Slope is 2, yep, so slope is 2, so there's a multiplier. So I'm going to not do 1, I'm going to do 2. Instead of 4, I'm going to do 8. Which is what's causing it, this causes it to become narrow. That's what it's doing. You should, in your brain, say, does your y-intercept make sense? So we had 14. Yeah, that makes sense visually, right? Again, I get people who give me, say, a y-intercept of -8. Should be a red flag. That's not crossing there. Okay, so question B, I would say it looks like this form on my formula sheet, the first one here. So you have a 1 and an 8, which is coming first, the 1, the 8 part, or the 8, 1 part? Are they same numbers? Are they opposite numbers? You're going to have to process all that. So which part comes first, the 1 part or the 8 part? The 1, should I do a same one or an opposite kind of one? Opposite one. And then the other part is an 8. So should I do a same 8 or an opposite? Same. So that was opposite, but then that one was same because of my formula said opposite, same. Okay, and again on your test, you're not going to get those words underneath. So all you have to do is think, well, this says minus, so opposite, this says plus, so same. The slope, -1 is the multiplier. In the front of the bracket, there's a -1, so it's going to go down. The axis of symmetry is that line x equals, and we go through x1. Domain, copy and paste. Range, you have to understand your visual. So what's this visual's lowest? Negative infinity to the highest max. This would be a max of, and then you find the height. There's the 8. The y-intercept, we said let's make x 0 is what we said. Careful with the bed mass stuff there. That one could be a little tricky with the negative sign. Make sure you're doing it right. Seven. Okay, so a couple things I've done now. I put my vertex on there. 1, 8 is on there. And then I went to the side and I made a little chart. 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9. And then I'm looking for my slope multiplier, and I have a -1. So I need to activate that. So we make that pattern, 1 down 1, 1 down 1, 2 down 4, everybody's seeing me reset that pattern. Now is always the reset to the vertex, reset to the vertex. Look at that, our y-intercept on our graph is at 7. That's nice when that happens, right? Matches. Okay, so this was yesterday's. Now this was what we called general form. So general form, we had this different strategy. We said the vertex is now this little formula. Okay, so you're ready to figure out the vertex of this one. Opposite b, so -10 over 2 times a. Opposite b, -10 over 2 times 1, because there's 1x squared. Without a calculator, -5. So the vertex is going to be -5, comma. And then what do we do? What's this plug-in thing mean to you if I say that? So if x is -5, you have to now go put the -5 into the equation. So -5 squared plus 10 times -5 plus 16. That's what I call a plug-in. Okay, determine the x-intercepts. So you should have this as a math understanding. An x-intercept is where y is 0. So if I made that happen, it would look like that. Okay, I cannot solve for x with isolation algebra. I can't move, divide. That doesn't happen. Okay, and why? Because x squared and x are different variables, just like square footage and linear footage. That can never be mushed together. Okay, so what is your math strategy that you have in your tool belt? Factor it. Okay, can you identify the style? Simple trinomial. I need 2 brackets. Your first times your first gets you x squared. Your last times your last multiplies to 16, but then the FOIL will need to add to 10. So multiples of 16 that somehow can also add to 10. Multiples of 16 that add to 10. So what's the purpose of this? You're trying to figure out x values that cause a 0. So in this bracket, if x was -2, there'd be a 0 there. Okay, so this is what I have. I have a -2, a -8. Those are my x-intercepts. We have a vertex. I'm going to draw my axis of symmetry on this one. Confirm that your vertex is on that axis of symmetry. So basically this is what I need you to think about. Symmetry, you're cutting it in half. What's half between a -8 and a -2? A -5 would be on the number line. And is that where our vertex landed? Yep. So that looks good, right? Our vertex landed halfway in that zone. And what is the y-intercept? That quickly, your math can go. 16. Because if x was 0, 0 squared, 10 times 0, gone, plus 16. Ooh, this is a challenge question. Can you figure out what point would be symmetric to your y-intercept? So there's 0, 16. What am I even looking for if I say the symmetric point? Would you understand I would like to figure that point out, its partner? How are we going to do that? Well, guess what the height is? 16. Well, that's easy, right? It's straight across. So we have to figure out the x value there. So would it help if I drew your axis there? So what was on the x value right on that line? -5. So what kind of distance would we have to go out both ways to be halfway in there? This would be at a -10 then. Right? Because here to here was 5 spaces, so here to here I gotta also make 5 spaces. Okay, I think I'm gonna save that last one for one more recap tomorrow maybe.